Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our late night show. Actually, if you're in North America, this is a late night show. It's our transfer roundup show where we're actually going to talk about a few of the big transfer news that has come through today. So we'll kind of discuss that. So get in your comments as well. Because I would love to hear your thoughts as well on some of the things that we will discuss. Won't be able to cover every single transfer news story out there because there's way too much. We'll cover some of the big headline news that's going on. So we'll look through a few different stories. So get in on the action as well. Love to hear your thoughts. And we'll begin right with the big one, Alvaro Morata moving to AC Milan. So as soon as Spain's tournament is over, I think AC Milan have gone and said yes, we're activating that release clause. That 13 million euro release clause that Alvaro Morata had, there was always a bit of an albatross around Atletico Madrid's neck because you always knew it was not that. It's not that high of a clause. And I don't rate Alvaro Morata that much. I don't think he's that great of a striker. Or that he ever has been that great of a striker. But the fact is that he is a decent option, and he's a serviceable option. And I think for 13 million euros, that is a bargain price when you think of some of the other prices that have been mentioned for some of the players, some of the strikers. I think when you can pay 30 million euros for someone like Alvaro Morata's experience and quality, I think that was always going to be unlikely that he was going to stay at Atletico this year. And so it has proved. And AC Milan have gone in and said we're going to pay that release clause. So it's almost done. That's what Fabrizio Romano has reported, that's almost done. That now it's about basically just negotiations with Morata, and then the deal will be announced shortly. So that's where we're at. And I think it's a good deal for Milan. They do. I think it's almost like a like-for-like swap replacement for Olivier Giroud, isn't it? Because you got that experience of Giroud who could come on and make an impact. Now you've got Alvaro Morata who could probably do similar as well. So I think that's a deal that I think that's how AC Milan are looking at it, is that they needed someone to replace Giroud, and now they've got that player, for a very, very reasonable price. And somebody who's basically kind of like a Spanish Giroud in some ways as well. So he's coming in and he's going to hopefully do well for Milan. I don't have a soft spot for Milan, as anybody who's watched the channel knows. So I do hope that he does well, and I hope that he'll make an impact for AC Milan. So let's hope that move goes through soon. Let's hope he has a successful tenure at Milan, because he's done well at Atletico. I mean, things have not worked out for him at Real Madrid. It didn't work out for him at Chelsea, but somehow he's kind of come back to a certain level. He was decent at the Euros. I wouldn't say he was great, but he was decent at the Euros. So hopefully this is the start of something, and he'll want to play consistently because he'll want to be part of Spain's World Cup squad as well. So he's gonna look at those 2 years as well. Now he's got to play consistently, and he'll hope that this move, for his sake, I hope it works out so he can be in that, because he's the captain of Spain now as well. So he'll be looking at that. So that's there. I think AC Milan also looking at Tammy Abraham apparently, so they would like to sign him as well. Tammy Abraham, I think, has a release clause in his contract, and there is talk that maybe he might want to leave Roma. Someone who's actually fallen off the radar a little bit, Tammy Abraham. At one point he was seen as like this really amazing young English talent, English striker, and somehow that just hasn't worked out for him of late. And then he's kind of done okay at Roma. I wouldn't say that he's been great, but I think he's done decently well. But he hasn't become the striker that I think some people thought he could have become. And now it's a matter of, does he want to stay at Roma, play Europa League football? Does he want to go to Milan, try and play Champions League football? Does he want to go somewhere else? Maybe come back to England. I don't think he'll be coming back to England. I don't think that's on the table right now, but I think it could happen. But I think the deal that has now taken Morata, I think, puts less pressure on Milan to go and get a striker. So it's an interesting one. I think if the price is right, and I don't know what the release cost situation is, but if the price is right, I think Milan might be tempted to do that deal. But I think at the moment, that's just one to watch rather than one that is likely to happen. So we'll keep an eye on that one, of course, but it's an interesting story. And then moving on to Germany now. More exits there, of course, is Kingsley Coman might be leaving Bayern Munich as well. So Coman hasn't agreed deals with any club apparently yet, but there is talk that Bayern are okay with him going. And you know what, I get it. From Bayern's perspective now, after whatever has happened last season, where Leverkusen pretty much just embarrassed them in the league, they finished third as well. And I think they'll be, and they are due for a revamp. I think there's a lot of players in there who are not aging as such, but they're sort of in their prime years of 28, 29, 27, and they just aren't that good. They just haven't been that good for some time, and I think it's time for them to start looking, while they have some market value, trying to move them on. I think Coman is one of those players that they will want to move on. Because they want to give Mathiijs de Ligt more opportunities, in the starting lineup. I think next season they need to do that. Otherwise, he'll be on the radar of some clubs as well. So if they want to make space for Mathiijs de Ligt, they want to bring in, Doue. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. pronouncing his name right. But that there is talk about wanting to bring him as well from Rennes. So if he's coming in, then they'll need to make space, and I think Coman will be one of the players. I don't think he'll be the only one that will be leaving. Obviously, there's another one that there's talk of somebody else leaving as well. I'm talking more about the fact of the players that have been key cogs in the Bayern machine for a while. Coman has been on those players. I don't think he'll be the only one of those that might be heading out, but I think they'll be open to that. So, and apparently he has a contract in 2027, so I think they'll want to get rid of him while they can, because it's got a long contract. So that would be one interesting thing to watch, whether Coman will actually want to leave or not. But yeah, I'm not surprised they want to move him on, because he has been average for quite some time for Bayern. And at this point in time, I think they'll probably be thinking, you know what, it's time to just cut ties and let, while he's still got some prime years and some resale value left, let's try and move him on, let him go somewhere else. So I think I can see that deal happening. Again, it will depend on the price tag, but I could see it happening. From Bayern's perspective, they're also interested in signing Dani Olmo, which is such a Bayern thing to do, isn't it? Dani Olmo, signing Dani Olmo from RB Leipzig would be such a Bayern thing to do, that you found a very good player at the Euros. He plays in a German club. You know what? Let's buy him. Let's buy him. And I think that's where it is. I would be surprised if that deal happens. Not because I don't think Bayern are interested, but I think Dani Olmo at the moment, he's going to have a lot of suitors. I think there's talk of Manchester United being interested in him. There's talk of Manchester City being interested in him. I'm sure there'll be some other clubs as well that will be sniffing around. So he's going to have a lot of pick of clubs. Now, that question becomes, does he want to go to Bayern Munich? Is that the best club for him? Or would he be looking maybe at a Manchester City? I think if the choice is between United and Bayern, then Bayern is a no-brainer decision. You go to Bayern, you don't go to Manchester United. If the choice is between City and Bayern, I think City right now would probably be a better option, because City will be looking for a replacement for Kevin De Bruyne as well. So maybe he fits in there. So it's interesting. I do feel that there was links for Olmo and Manchester United. That was it was textbook agent talk, where the agent is saying all that to kind of drum up interest. And I think that was just something that was done. So I don't think United are interested in him. For various reasons. It's not that they're not interested in the sense that they don't want him. I just don't think the economics of that deal would make sense for Manchester United at this point. So I think Manchester City might be interested, and I can see why Bayern Munich are interested in him. So it is possible that he might go to Bayern Munich. It would be a very Bayern deal to do if they could manage to do it. Apparently, they've also almost got Jonathan Tah as well in. So that's another one that they're working on. So Bayern are doing what Bayern do, and trying to get the best players from other clubs in Germany, to try and regain the Bundesliga again. So interesting times ahead for Bayern Munich. And on that note, of course, Mathiijs de Ligt could be leaving. I mean, he is slated to leave Bayern Munich to go to Manchester United. There were some rumors that the deal is almost all done and everything is all set. But just hold your breaks there, because what we're hearing on Twitter, of course, is that nothing has been done for the last 72 hours. There's been no talk of a new offer from Manchester United. The personal terms have been agreed between De Ligt and United, but that was never really a problem. That's never a problem. The problem is whether Bayern and United can agree on a fee. There's still some consternations there. At the moment, I think £42 million is what has been referred to. I would like to see that reduced. As a Manchester United fan, I would like to see, because I don't think De Ligt is worth £42 million. If you ask me, I think anything between 30 to 40 is a good deal. Anything over 40 starts to become questionable, because I am worried about that deal, and I've not spoken about it, but I am worried about De Ligt to Manchester United. I really am, because for one, he's very injury prone, and that's a major problem. I think are you getting someone who is and I do agree with people who say De Ligt has been unfairly criticized throughout his career, just because he was very overhyped when he was young. I remember when he broke onto the scene with Ajax, and everybody was like, this guy is amazing, this guy is great. Then he went to Juventus, and we all thought he was going to become this world-class defender, and he hasn't become that player. But at that point, the hype was incredible, and it's no surprise that he never lived up to that hype, because people just thought he was a second coming of Nesta or Maldini or something like that. But he was never any of those. And what has basically happened is that he has achieved a level which is a good level, but it isn't the level that we all thought he would achieve, and therefore we consider him to be a failure. But it isn't that he is a bad defender. His biggest issue for me is injuries. He gets a lot of niggles and stuff like that. So I feel he could end up becoming Varane 2.0, where he'll be a wonderful defender and he'll do really well, but he'll miss half the games every season, and you won't know when he's fit, when he's not fit. So you wouldn't want someone like that for 40 million pounds, 42 million pounds, and that's way too much to pay for a defender of that for that. I think, and remember also, he's not first choice of Bayern. For a Bayern side that wasn't very good last season, he still couldn't play in that side. Now, part of that was because Tuchel kept picking Upamecano over him for whatever reason. I don't know why managers pick Upamecano. He's a calamity, but they still keep picking him. He even played for France in the Euros. So I don't know what others see that I don't see, but he still couldn't crack that squad. Or crack that starting 11, and he wasn't a starter for Netherlands either. So he's not necessarily as great as people, or he's not necessarily a marquee signing as such. So I would like to see that negotiated down, maybe to between 30 to 40, because I think 42 is okay. But I think there's a better deal to be done if they can do that. So that would be interesting one to watch. But nothing has happened yet. Nothing has been done yet. That is still a work in progress. So anyone who's thinking this is going to be done tomorrow or day after, it could be. But at the moment, there is still some work to be done on that deal. And I think for talking about that, we can just talk about Yoro as well. Again, pretty much obvious choices between Madrid and Manchester United. Madrid have made a lower offer, and they've kept that on the table, and Yoro has to decide whether he wants to go to Madrid, which would mean that Lille will have to accept a lower offer and sell him or lose him for nothing next season, or Yoro goes to Manchester United, who have made the better financial offer. It's an interesting one. Now, in normal circumstances, again, you would say Madrid, Manchester United. You obviously go to Madrid. That's a no-brainer. But I think where I think it is intriguing for Yoro is he's got to look at it not just from the financial side of things, because United, I think, will offer the better wages. That's fine. But I think it's also about game time. How much is he going to play if he is at Madrid versus if he's at Manchester United? Because for me, Martinez and De Ligt, are very huge. I worry for both of them. If they are going to be a starting center back pairing for United, I worry for both of them. So then Yoro is going to get a lot of game time. Just by default, he's going to get a lot of game time. Plus, United are in the Europa League, and you generally rotate a lot more when you're in the Europa League versus when you're in the Champions League. So he will get games there as well. At Madrid, I think there's Alaba, there's Rudiger, there's Eder, Militao at the moment. You've got Nacho's left now. So you got those three. Alaba is quite injury prone, so he does comfortably become number 3 there as well. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else at the moment in Madrid's defense, but I think those are the 3 main ones. Nacho was there, but Nacho, he's gone now, so that's not a factor anymore. So there is opportunities there as well, but at Madrid, I think he will be quite clearly number 3 or number 4, number 3, depending on Alaba's fitness. He'll probably be number 3, number 4. At United, he'll be clear number 3, but with a lot of chances to play because of the fact that the 2 ahead of him are very injury prone. So it's an interesting dynamic at the moment. From both clubs, and I think just the fact that maybe he'll play more games at United could swing that in his favor. I think that's something that he will consider. But I still feel that most players choose Madrid, even if with the game time issue. I think they just go, you know what, I'll crack it. You players want to play for Madrid. I think Madrid is where you want to be right now. If you're top tier talent, you want to be at Madrid. So Madrid usually get their player as well. So I would still say it's probably 80-20 at the moment towards Madrid. But we'll see what happens with that one. It's an interesting deal as well that's shaping up. And of course, with Branthwaite not coming, that's not going to happen anymore now, because Amadou Onana is going to go to Aston Villa, which means Everton no longer have any financial issues. So then the question that is going to raise its head is, if it's not Branthwaite, if it's not Lenny Yoro, who is going to be the other centre back? Is it going to be because Lindelof and Maguire have to go. And apparently Kambwala is already also gone. I had hopes that Kambwala would stay and try and fight for his place, but he's gone as well. So they need a centre back, because I don't think Evans is going to cut it. Yeah, he probably play 10-15 games, this next season, Evans. But it's the same thing with Casemiro. Casemiro had a very good first season, and then suddenly he dropped off in that second season. It could be the same with Evans. He was pretty good last season every time he played, but it's going to be a year older now. Is he still going to have that same level, or is it going to be a steep drop off? And you've got to be wary of that. So you can't have Evans as number 4. And so they need a reliable number. Well, they need a reliable number 3 and a number 4 at the moment, because right now it's just Martinez, Maguire, Lindelof. Literally, those are the 3 centre backs. And if you're trying to get rid of Maguire and Lindelof as well, then you basically need 2 or 3 centre backs. Even if you get De Ligt, I think you need 2 more. I don't know who those 2 centre backs are going to be. Whether they have money to get 2 centre backs, it's going to be a thing to look for. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by that, and it's also a little bit scary as well if you're a United fan to worry about what's going to happen there. Particularly with what we saw today, I don't think any of the young players are ready for that step up to first team level. No, none of them are. So they need to find someone. They need to find someone who's going to come in and take that spot. So one to watch out for as well. We'll stop talking about United here because I think we've done quite a bit today for them. Another one that's also moving along is Osimhen, Victor Osimhen to Paris Saint-Germain. Now that is an interesting deal because it's the sort of deal that PSG have said that they don't want to do anymore. Victor Osimhen is not going to come for less than £100 million, minimum £100 million, could probably go up to 120 million as well. Napoli don't sell. Generally, they don't sell their best players. They wait for release clauses. They sell them very high. The big release clauses that they put in. So they don't generally sell players. They just let them go on release clauses or free transfers usually, or very high fees. So that being said, if you're looking about £120 million fee, will PSG pay that? When last season, I think last season or the season before, when Nasser Al-Khelaifi said, this is it, we're not doing Hollywood signings anymore. We're now going to focus on collective team signings. They've lost Mbappe, which is a massive loss, to lose on a free transfer, number one. But also keep in mind, the star power has gone now. They don't have any marketable face that Mbappe was. So they might look at Osimhen and think, well, that's someone we need because he's, a big, marketable face and a star, in Italy. He's a star in Italy. He's someone who could be a star in France. Do we want to bring him in for the club? So it is a signing that makes sense on paper, because PSG do need a striker to replace Mbappe. So they might look at Osimhen as that signing, but the finances of it is something that PSG had said they wouldn't do. So to go out and then do it at a £120 million signing, I think it is a very PSG thing to do, that they would do it. But also I think it's probably one that they should avoid. In my opinion, they should avoid that signing because it just doesn't make sense. To see PSG go back to that, to revert to that, because they've got Gonzalo Ramos now. They've got a striker, and I'm sure they can find another striker that's probably cheaper than what they're going to pay for Osimhen. So they've started to think about the collective rather than getting superstar signings. So I think signing Osimhen would just go back in that same trap, and I don't think he's worth £120 million either. To be honest, if you ask me, he had a wonderful season 2 years ago when last year when Napoli won the title, and that was wonderful. But this past season, he was back to being the Osimhen that we know, which is where he'll score goals, but he gets injured a lot as well. He's not someone who can play 50, 55 games a season. He can probably play 40, 45 games a season. Maybe the French league, he might be a little bit slower, easier for him, but I still feel that he's very injury prone. So do you pay £120 million for that? I think is a big question to us, and I don't think PSG should do that. But we'll see what they do. PSG will do what PSG do, but it's a signing that I would not do at this moment in time. I think it's Osimhen for me. The time to go was last season and he didn't. I don't think this season is when you want to go and get Victor Osimhen. I think you might want to wait for another season. I want to see how well he does because he's got a release clause. So that release clause will always be there. And if he does well, then you sign him. If he doesn't, you avoid that pitfall. I just don't see that deal as one that team should be doing. But we'll see what PSG decides. It's an option. There's nothing concrete at the moment. PSG haven't said that they're going to do it. To be fair, there's no opinion. It's just one that they're monitoring, that they're looking at. So to put that into context as well, it's important to say that it's not something that's moving fast. It's still something that's just being explored. So that's that. And I think finally we'll end on this. Manchester City, Al-Nassr for Ederson. Still a long way to go on that deal. Ederson has agreed personal terms with Al-Nassr. He wants to go to Al-Nassr, so that's already been done. Now it's a matter of the fee. Manchester City won at least 55 million euros. They want more than 50 million euros is what they want. Al-Nassr don't want to pay that much. So that deal is stalled. It's an interesting one because, and I keep using that word interesting a lot, but it's one that these kind of deals always interest me because a player has agreed personal terms with another club, which means he wants to go to that club, right? Now you're working on a fee. What if you don't agree a fee? What happens to the player? Does the player come back and then, and it's like all is forgiven and he's going to be back in the fold? Would you work with that? And it's Ederson, so I wouldn't doubt his professionalism, but it's always one that interests me in terms of how club dynamics and player dynamics work, is that you've got a player that quite clearly wants to go to another club, and yet because you couldn't agree fee, you have to bring him back in. So it is one that is one to watch, whether that deal will eventually happen. There's talk of Julian Alvarez leaving as well, but I don't think he's leaving. I think that is just agent talk for a new deal as well. I don't think Julian Alvarez will be leaving Manchester City. There's no reason for him to leave Manchester City. And in any case, I don't think he was that good anyway. And I saw him in the final. I don't think he was that good. So I don't think he's ready for a starting place at a very top tier club yet. Chelsea apparently interested. I think he would fit right in with Chelsea. With the number of chances he missed in the Copa America, I think he would fit right in as a Chelsea striker. But I don't know, Chelsea will have the money. Chelsea find money from anywhere to sign players anyway. But I'm not sure if they'll be able to find the money to sign him, and I'm not sure if Manchester City would want to sell him. And I don't think Alvarez wants to leave Manchester City. I think he just wants a better deal from Man City. So anyway, but the Ederson one, I think, is another one to keep an eye on. So that's it. A little bit of a roundup there. Not all transfers covered, but I think a few big ones that we've spoken about. Share your thoughts on what I've said. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think there's a player that you really want to see at your club that should be mentioned? Would be, please let me know in the comments. Of course, be happy to hear your thoughts on it. Do smash a like if you enjoyed this video, and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon. We'll see you tomorrow with another roundup. If there's more interesting transfer news, we'll be back again tomorrow with another roundup. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.